All right, fam. We got copy and paste rappers 2.0. And we got the copyright disclaimer.
It'll be something
Off
new.
rip.
When a person decides to
50.
be themselves, they're offer something no one else can be.
Yeah, because once you be you, who can be you but you? That's what's wrong right now. Everybody trying to rap the same style with the, I don't know who created it, if it was Future or Migos, but all them sound the same.
Yeah. They do. Rest in peace, Takeoff.
Generally speaking, they say that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. When you're recognized as so much of an influence that others will then try to inject a little of that into themselves, the belief is that it should really be seen as a compliment. But in a highly competitive industry such as hip-hop, where every last shred of your individuality is paramount to your success, the notion of someone else stealing your style, cadence, flow, or concepts can be seen as one of the...
Yeah, I think that's fine until they like copying like every single thing you do. Like that boy, what was his name? White Boy M, copying Speed. Like that's some weird stuff, bro. That's some weird stuff. We might have to react to that.
Greatest
if y'all
crimes
know
a rapper
about
can
that.
commit. With high-profile examples of hip-hop sound
Basically, Astro Speed is a big
Bronson
streamer.
and Ghostface Killer, Lil Man Jane, Lil Baby, and to a much lesser extent, Izzy Drake and Perkio. When exactly do these extreme similarities cross the line from...
He really do look like Lil Durk though. And he really do look like Drake. If you seeing him far away, these fools do look like them.
To copy-paste music. When it comes to recent breakout stars in hip-hop, very few have experienced the kind of success as Kentucky's own Jack Harlow. Likeable, vocally engaging,
He got a
by no
copycat
means
too?
short on admirers. His rise has
I
seen
gotta
him
eat
emerge
this
as the
chocolate,
toast
man.
of the
Sometimes I
commercial
need
realm
me a
that's been
snack.
occupied by Drake for much of the last decade. Coming across in a similar degree of marketability and female-heavy fan base, some believe that it's actually due to a concerted effort on Jack's part to dip into Drake's formula across his bars, rhyme schemes, and presentation.
I don't
Although
think
it's
he
now
sounds
garnered
like
so
Drake.
much steam that the Fader published an article on the Drakeification of Jack, the notion of Harlow borrowing heavily from Drizzy's playbook is actually nothing new. In the words of Anthony Fantano, he actually wrote off much of his early work as derivative Drake drivel, but has since acknowledged that he has found his own voice to a certain degree. And
Y'all think he sound like Drake? Maybe he did that in the beginning of his career, like just to get on. But I'm like, I don't think he sound like Drake at all. But they right, he probably did switch up.
Though these comparisons have been bubbling around Jack before, they were officially drilled home once and for all when he teamed up with him on Churchill Downs. Among the highlights from his
Churchill
sophomore
Downs.
album, Come Home, The Kids
Gotta check that out.
Miss You, the pair trading bars over a late-night oriented number led many to see the comparisons come into sharp focus for the first time. And while some claimed that he held his own while emulating his hero, others believe that to suggest that he was holding his own alongside Drake, who said that Jack was going places in his verse, would be to overstate Harlow's talent.
This guy is no...
I was about to say it. Let me just type that in right now. Jack Harlow, Churchill Downs. We're gonna watch that next.
Nowhere near as nuanced and as layered as Drake was. None of the lines that Drake can normally spit in his earlier work. That comparison is just downright disrespectful. It's apparent when we hear a track like Churchill Downs, where even after adding a couple of additional bars to his verse, the gap between him and Drake is so big that you need the Hubble Space Telescope to cover the distance.
For now, it
Yeah, I
remains
don't
to be
think they
seen
sound the
whether
same
Jack
at
will
all,
live up to his
honestly, in
idol's
my
success.
opinion.
Now at this point, we've come to the numerous artists who've sought to
Eminem
emulate the path
always
of
looks
one of
so
the consensus
mad.
greatest to ever pick up the mic, in Eminem. An
don't
artist
think
who
I've
had
ever
an
seen bro
indivisible role
smile.
in bringing the sound of hip-hop to the mainstream and acting as a previously non-existent middle ground between white suburbia and the culture at large. Many artists ranging from Hopsin to J. Cole and his eventual nemesis of MGK have taken cues from Detroit's finest. However, one thing that's sprung up over the past decade or so, in which M's own stock among hip-hop has come under fire like never before, is that rather than adopting the elements of vintage M which made him great, such as his fearlessness or knack for gripping confessional
Bro, you look
storytelling
like a
and making them
werewolf
their
right there.
own, there's now a subset of shady indebted artists who seem intent on just bodying his modern rapidy rap style and suburban appeal. Among the main culprits who've come to fit into an M-shaped mold for a new generation is NF. Modeled after Shady to the extent that he even dresses like him, the fellow son of Michigan is so renowned for his similarities to Shady that USA Today once referred to him as an Eminem sounding
And they both even from Michigan.
like in a headline. Not one to shy away from the effect that Shady had on him at a young age, NF openly told Idolator that he pretty much just listened to Eminem for 6 years during his formative years.
Hey,
However,
definitely don't idolatrize people, but man, that's kind of how you have to do though. Sometimes, just like if you have a favorite YouTuber, you're kind of gonna do things similar to like your favorite YouTubers, the people that you look up to, because you want to get on like them and they inspire you. So like, why not do the same things that they're doing? Use the same formula. But then once you get to that point, you see a lot of people will switch up and kind of change their styles and find themselves.
If there's anything that we know about Shady,
That's what you
it's that
gotta
he's
do.
not one
Do
to
what you
take
gotta
things
do.
like this lying down. And on The Ringer from his infamously combative project, Kamikaze, Mathers fired a shot in his direction as he spit, "I'd just be like everyone else in the industry, especially an effing recovery clone of me." In a similar vein,
No ads. No ads. Subscribe and like up, fam. Oh snap. I muted it. There we go.
from Shady without making any apologies is Token. Having infamously turned down a meeting with M during his early career, the now 23-year-old MC has always suggested that he has the utmost respect for him. And when it appeared that Shady may have thrown a shot his way, he maintained that, "I'd be stupid to come at someone who I grew up listening to and
Right.
I'm clearly influenced by."
In the song
Yeah, that
The Greatest
doesn't make sense.
off the Kamikaze album. M says, "No more shiners, already too much time. Token rappers, I hear you talking. I'm just too big to respond to it." Folks thought that he was talking about you. I'm glad you saying it's not
He
a
didn't
diss
even name call
because
him.
he's been serving up careers
He didn't put his name or nothing in there. That I wouldn't have thought that was about him at all.
lately.
I get sent those lyrics all the time, but the thing is, to me, my automatic thinking is like, what are you talking about? Like, I still feel like I'm the same kid who's listening to Eminem show. I never took it as a diss.
Did you know that on
I
average,
wouldn't
there
think that's
are
a diss
around
at
5
all.
million
Morgan and Morgan. Morgan and Morgan by Mo. You're gonna have to skip them.
Over the years, Logic has faced allegations of literally stealing from the catalogs of other artists. But even when he's been reproached by the culture for taking cues from the likes
Logic's
of
really
Kanye
good,
and J.
too.
Cole, there's no claim that has dogged his career
Straight fire.
quite like the narrative that he borrows from Kendrick Lamar. Sparked
Kendrick.
initially by the song Everybody's similarity in flow and beat to
Oh.
Kendrick's Alright, this perception is one
Similar,
that Logic
but
has
it's
steadfastly
not
denied.
exactly.
The Maryland rapper even going as far to say that K-Dot's landmark major label debut actually went over his head at first.
I didn't like it because I wasn't into Kendrick Lamar doing all his weird voices. I didn't like that. I like J. Cole. I didn't like all these skits. I didn't like having to sit through 9 minutes of a song. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And then I loved it because I sat with it.
On other occasions,
That's how
Logic
it be
suggested that any
sometimes.
similarities between his music
There is this Rihanna album. What was it? The one that got consideration on it and Anti, what's it called? I think the album was called Anti for Rihanna. And when it first came out, I didn't like it. But then I really just sat down. I listened to it for a while, found a few songs that I rock with, and then I ended up liking the album. But sometimes that happens when an album first comes out, you don't really rock with it as much. Just how SZA just put out an album too. And some of the songs are good, like even Snooze, you kind of hear snippets of Snooze on TikTok. So I went back to the album and I was like, I still don't really like it. But maybe in the future I like it. I don't know. Control is fire from SZA, but that's my little
and then
piece.
K-Dot
That's how
is
it be
a byproduct
sometimes.
of them both operating
Let me know
at
what
the
albums
top
y'all
of their
felt
game.
like.
When you make great
Like what albums y'all felt like you had to like sit with, because at first you didn't like it, but then later on you liked the album. Let me know which album that is.
music, I think they compare you to great artists. You also have to understand that a lot of the musicians I was working with are from the TDE camp. It's like that musicality of having Terrence
top
Martin
dog.
there or Tay Beast from Digiphonics, you know? I think they're realizing this. Regardless of his many protests and different vantage points that he's put forth, it still doesn't change the fact that this notion has persisted to such an extent that a video entitled "Logic Stealing from Kendrick Lamar for 5 minutes straight" has over 400,000 views on YouTube. Next, we have
snap.
Playboy Cardi,
We might have to check
specifically
that
his
out.
kids Mario Judah and Yeet. Given that he's the focal point of a cult
Yeet.
fan base and youth movement, it should be entirely unsurprising that
So my little brother, my husband's little brother, he likes Yeet. I'm gonna have to check out Yeet. I've never listened to his songs, but that might be what we need to check out too.
some budding artists have been inspired by Playboy Cardi. With Die Lit and his self-titled project viewed as sacred
Playboy
texts,
Cardi.
Mario Judah, who exploded onto the scene with his own metal-influenced delivery, was so
Oh, yeah,
proficient at
bro's
parodying
weird.
his hero's sound that he released music copying Cardi as a way to leverage the release of Whole Lotta Red.
Yo! Playboy Cardi! Where's Whole Lotta Red, bro? It's been 2 years, bro.
If it's not here and delivered to the world before December 6th, I will drop it myself. Do you understand?
This is not a game! This is not a drill! This is not a test! Drop Whole Lotta Red or I will do it for you! Before December 6th!
When the record never showed up on the deadline, Mario stuck to his word and delivered a project which had all the hallmarks of Cardi's trademark style, gaining him both the annoyance and begrudging respect of Cardi's cult-like fandom.
He said, I will literally release it myself. That's dope, though. That's dope.
Rather
That's
than
smart
being even
marketing tool to choose. Because he's like, I'm going directly to that audience, you feel me? That's
based off his own personal affinity for Cardi. And it's a love that hasn't waned even as he became a star in his own right.
That as he comes out and drops, I'm just gonna be happy, bro. Even before I was like being an artist, bro, I was one of those kids in the comment section. Like when nobody knew me, like, bro, drop Whole Lot Red. I felt like now that I had I had a platform, I could speak on it and try to get him to drop and like stick up for like the people who want it. You know?
Yet, while Mario may be the only man who has actively sought to recreate his sound, he certainly isn't his only descendant. Alongside Cardi's own protege of Ken Carson, recent breakout rapper Yeat hasn't exactly been shy about his influences. And according to academics, this has been crucial in building his reputation within the game.
3 industry artists literally looked at me and said, half of the reason why Yeat is popping is because people think that Cardi with him. People care about who Cardi with, who sounds like him. I've got just more appreciation for Cardi.
Next up, Cordae.
That's interesting.
When Cordae first came out of the gate, he built himself as an emboldened and lyrically adept voice for a new generation who had had enough of old heads critiquing them. In his rebuttal to...
I ain't gonna lie. I think one of the best things Cordae could do was leave YBN because I feel like they was low-key holding Brody down. I already knew, like, it was one of them groups I'm like, they gonna break up because they just, I don't know. Amari J seems like the wild dude, and then you got Namir, who just seems like he's the type to blow up and then disappear. But Cordae seems like he actually got that longevity because, like, dude is a lyricist for real. Like, he got them J. Cole type of lyrics, like straight heat, straight fire.
Cordae was positioned as not so much of a disciple of Cole, but as a worthy adversary. But after the initial buzz tapered off and Cordae set his sights on a prosperous career, he began to bear a startling resemblance to the work of Cole in terms of both his worldview and his beat selection. Yet, even as it became apparent, Cordae sought to shut down the narrative as fast as it could come up. Nah, I don't hear that, he retorted when asked if he was a baby J. Cole by Billboard. I get all types of comparisons. I feel like
you a baby J. Cole. He do remind you of J. Cole if you listen to his music, though. I mean,
you know,
it's not exactly the same.
20 years in this thing. I don't deserve those comparisons in my eyes. It's an honor, but also I'm my own artist and my own person. While this was acknowledged to a degree on his debut album, The Lost Boy, the concept of him being a Cole clone who had yet to find his own artistic identity really began to pick up some steam on his sophomore record, From a Bird's Eye View.
Cordae on From a Bird's Eye View is making old music at 24 years old. Cole has been criticized for being one of the most sleepy, boring MCs that we have to offer in our generation. But Cole, at the very least, from a rapper's point of view, I would consider a pretty good to almost great rapper. That doesn't mean that all of his music is good. It just means that he has a skill set that can at least separate him from or put himself so far ahead of anyone that he's influencing that he would be the preference to anyone trying to adopt or copy his style. Every single track on this Bird's Eye View album, I'm thinking J. Cole would sound good on this. These are damn near the come up era level songs.
You gotta check that out. I don't think I've listened. I don't think I listened to that album. I'm gonna have to check that one out too. For sure.
With Cordae recently admitting that he'd taken an artistic stumble on From a Bird's Eye View, which was admirable, only time will tell if he can pick himself back up and step out of Cole's shadow. Juice WRLD and Kid Laroi. The two flagship artists of Grade A Productions during their heyday, Juice WRLD and the Kid Laroi may have come from vastly different backgrounds, but were evidently kindred spirits. In fact, for the Australian Laroi, it was Juice who encouraged him
he looks like a girl, low-key.
to head stateside in the first place.
Is that a boy?
A fan, so
oh,
that was really another reason why
kind of look like a girl with that long hair.
You know, was with them so hard because I just love Juice and what he was doing. So I learned a lot of stuff being around him and his process and how he records. I definitely did learn a lot.
Laroi has never shied away from the tutelage he received from Juice, but maintained that it was overstated at times.
So I just observe a lot of the stuff that he did. People always think that, like, he gave me like a rule book about how to record, but no, it was really just...
If he studied him that hard to the point like he even focused on how he recorded everything, that is crazy, right?
Having claimed that before we even met, you were my favorite artist, in the promotional content which accompanied his tribute song, Tell Me Why, it's clear that Laroi feels a responsibility to pay homage to his hero wherever possible, even after parting ways with Bibby in Grade A. Post Malone. When Post Malone first came out of the gate, his presence was one that was met with confusion, initially seeming more like a pastiche of hip-hop than an active participant.
Yeah, Post Malone is fire, but it's like I can't listen to all his songs. So like I mostly just listen to like a hit, like his hits here and there. Like Iverson was fire. Like He was good. I think that was with Doja Cat. We reacted to that, but I took it down. Yeah, I've had a lot of videos that I
Tracks
take
such as
down.
White Iverson were heavily steeped in the melodic, auto-tune rich style of artists who have found a profitable middle ground
Rolls
between
Royce.
decadence and sadness. And as the hits kept coming, some believe that Post's vocal style and trap production had its roots in the gloriously toxic discography of Future. I love his music, but you can't tell me that that ain't Future, said T.I. of Posty's earlier output in 2019. There's some Future in there. He does it well, but let's call it what it is. Even as
I never noticed that. I never noticed him sounding like Future.
he was pejoratively labeled a fake Future by Charlamagne the God, Post has never steered away from the influence that Pluto had on him during the early stages of his career.
Well, I've always been a big Future fan.
No matter what you do, though, you're gonna have some type of comparison to somebody. So, and everyone's looking up to somebody as well, you know. So it is what it is. I don't know why this camera does this. I need a new camera. Yo, run it up. Keep
He's
it pushing.
Trap Jesus.
There we go.
He's got a lot of soul in his voice. A lot of haters don't really give him the credit that he deserves because, auto-tune, blah, blah. But he's a fantastic vocalist.
Despite accusations that he's essentially derived much of his style from Future, the duo have since collaborated on numerous occasions, including Hollywood's bleeding standout, Die For It. In recent years, few people have evolved and garnered respect for
21.
their artistic growth quite like 21 Savage. Having navigated far away from where he was in the days of Issa, the album, the UK-born, Atlanta-based
Issa was
artist has
fire.
now surpassed everyone's expectations of him and has become a force in the culture in the process. Unsurprisingly, this has meant that some people
21 do be putting out them hits. You can't listen to too much of his stuff, though. He gonna hype you up to do something. But hey, he
have taken
be putting
aspects
them
of his
hits out
approach
there.
and aligned them with their own.
Especially the
most
album with
notably
Drake.
Florida's Nardo Wick. Equipped with the same sort of eerily sedate delivery and a gritty
Okay, no, everybody, all these rappers, Nardo Wick be sounding asleep. He like that's how he sounds. Like Brody, this dude sounds asleep. They talk about J. Cole sounds asleep like that. Nah, Nardo Wick is asleep in the studio. Crazy,
upbringing
bro.
to boot. Many fans believe that he was culling directly from the 21 Savage playbook, but to Nardo's mind, it was not only completely
I don't think he
unintended,
sound like
but it was
21.
also just a matter of content. I understand it now a little bit, he told XXL, because now I done sat down and really listened to him. We both dark. That's where people get it from. As for whether or not
yeah.
21 had been aggravated by the similarities in
The stuff they
style,
talk about.
any speculation that it may cause friction between the two was all but put to bed when the pair linked up for the Who Want the Smoke remix. Perhaps imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but without a new spin on an original style, continued imitation is perhaps one of the greatest crimes a rapper can commit. Rappers sounding like other rappers is bound to happen though, and this
Facts. All right, y'all. That was a good one. Great vid. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Everything I didn't agree with, but I think it was a fire video. Y'all, subscribe and like up. I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Let me know what we should watch next. You could even drop a link down there. Let me know. But yeah, subscribe and like up. God bless. See you in the next one.